temple, the gap in the armor. A clean hit to the temple and the person is asleep before they start falling. Most of the skull handles force fine. Forehead, crown, back of the head, thick bone, built for impact. But just above the ear, the bone thins to about 2 millimeters. Thinner than a coin. Behind it runs the middle meningeal artery, the main blood supply for the membrane wrapping the brain. No reinforcement, no extra layer. The skull traded thickness here so the jaw could move. That trade-off left the weakest point on the entire head wide open. Force to the temple does two things at once. The thin bone buckles inward, pushing energy into the cranial cavity, and the brain, floating in fluid, rotates on its axis. That rotation scrambles electrical signals between neurons faster than any other head trauma. Not a gradual fade, a hard cut, motor function gone, legs off. The body drops with zero transition between standing and falling. No stagger, no stumble. Vertical to horizontal in under a second. Fracture the temple, and the artery behind it tears. Blood fills the gap between skull and brain. Pressure climbs fast. Without surgery, that pressure kills. More instant knockouts in boxing have come from this spot than anywhere else on the head. The skull was built to protect the brain. At the temple, it forgot. And every time force finds that thin spot, the brain pays for a design choice it never agreed to. Peroneal nerve. One kick, no leg. On the outer side of the knee, a single nerve crosses over bare bone. No muscle above it, no fat, just skin stretched over the fibular head with a nerve pinched between, wire on rock. One solid kick and the nerve compresses against bone. Signal scrambles, foot drops, ankle locks. Toes will not lift. Not pain, disconnection. The brain is still sending commands to the lower leg. None arrive. Doctors call it foot drop. In a fight it means one leg. Balance gone, pivoting gone, pushing off the ground, gone. Every step a guess, every weight shift a gamble. And it stacks. Each hit inflames the nerve more sensitive, more reactive. By the third or fourth kick, the leg folds on contact. No pain threshold crossed. No decision to fall. The relay between brain and limb has shut down, and the leg is just dead weight hanging from the hip. Still attached, still visible, empty. The person tries to stand. The leg does not get the message. They try to step. Nothing fires. The brain is screaming at a limb that has gone completely silent. Unlike a bruise that toughens over time, the peroneal nerve does the opposite. Weaker with every hit, more fragile, more exposed. The body has no adaptation for a wire sitting on bare bone. This is not damage. This is signal failure, and it only gets worse. Liver. The organ that shuts you down. Built-in trapdoor on the right side of the body, just under the lowest ribs. 3 pounds of blood-saturated tissue loaded with nerve endings and covered by almost nothing. A strike lands. The liver compresses. The intercostal nerves fire a signal so extreme, the spinal cord treats it as a full-body emergency. Does not forward it to the brain for review. Just acts. Legs buckle. Torso curls. Arms drop to guard the right side. Involuntary. Immediate. Total. Blood pressure crashes at the same time. The vagus nerve picks up the disturbance and drags the cardiovascular system down with it. From the outside, the reaction looks wrong. No screaming, no grabbing the spot. Face blank, confused. The body shut down before the brain registered what happened. The person knows they are falling. They just cannot do anything about it. Every signal to stop the collapse gets ignored. Nobody has ever powered through a clean liver shot on willpower. Not a street fighter, not a champion, not once. The organ cannot be hardened, cannot be trained. Fighters who have taken clean shots all say the same thing. They knew what was happening, they just could not stop it. The body made the decision for them. Biology overrode the person living inside it. Eyes. 80% of everything, gone. Fluid-filled sphere in a shallow bone socket, covered by a flap of skin thinner than paper. That is the entire defense system for the organ handling 80% of all sensory input. Pressure on the eyeball fires the oculocardiac reflex. Direct line from eye to brainstem through the trigeminal nerve. Heart rate drops. Hard. Surgeons have watched it fall by half from light pressure during procedures. Outside a hospital, the same reflex triggers nausea, blackout-level dizziness, and cardiovascular collapse. The body reads eye pressure as a brainstem emergency, because it is one. But the reflex is only half the problem. The eye itself ruptures under focused force. Vision loss, instant, usually permanent, and without vision, nothing else works. Cannot track threats, cannot read distance, cannot identify what is coming. The body freezes or flails. Neither helps. One moment, full awareness of every object, movement, and angle in the room. Next moment, black. No way to fight what you cannot see. No way to block what you cannot find. The most important sensor in the body behind the weakest shield. Evolution's worst call. One hit and the person goes from full situational awareness to total blindness. Everything after that is panic. Solar plexus, breathing denied. Behind the base of the sternum sits the celiac plexus. Dense knot of nerves controlling the diaphragm. One muscle, one job. Pull down to inhale, push up to exhale. No backup, no alternate. Diaphragm stops, breathing stops. Full stop. Direct blow overloads the plexus. The diaphragm does not cramp, it locks. Frozen in the exhaled position, lungs empty, no air in, no air out. The brain fires every respiratory signal it has. Nothing reaches the muscle. The person folds forward, mouth open, chest heaving, zero airflow, cannot inhale, cannot speak, cannot call for help. Every voluntary system still works. The one involuntary muscle they need most has seized. 15 to 30 seconds before reset. During that window, the body is sealed off from its own oxygen. Abs protect the surface. They do nothing for the nerve cluster behind the wall. A pro fighter's celiac plexus responds to deep pressure the same as someone who has never trained a day. Conditioning is irrelevant. The reflex does not know who it belongs to. It only knows force was applied. The diaphragm is the only thing standing between the lungs and silence. When it locks, everything goes quiet. Wait, if you're enjoying this video, hit subscribe before someone hits you in real life. Now, corroded sinus, fooled into shutdown. Baroreceptors, tiny pressure sensors packed into a small bulge where the carotid artery forks in the neck. They measure blood pressure every second. Read high. They tell the brain to slow the heart and open the vessels. Fully automatic. No input needed. The flaw: they cannot tell real pressure from fake. A strike compresses them against the cervical spine. They report a massive spike in blood pressure. Never happened. The brain does not question it, just corrects. Heart rate plummets. Vessels open wide. Blood pressure drops off a cliff. Vision tunnels to a pinpoint. Knees give. Floor arrives before the first conscious thought forms. The person was not hurt. Cardiovascular system was functioning fine. The sensors lied. The brain believed them. And the correction happened so fast that by the time the thinking brain caught up, the body was already on the ground. 2 inches off center. Nothing happens. Dead center on the sinus. Total system failure triggered from the inside. No external damage required. The brain knocked itself out on bad intel. The body did all the work. No punch to the jaw. No rattled skull. Just a pressure sensor that lied and a brain too obedient to ask questions. Brachio Plexus. Arm offline. Every command to the arm, grip, push, rotate, hold, passes through one nerve bundle. The brachial plexus exits the neck, threads between collarbone and muscle, drops into the shoulder. One corridor, one choke point. Erb's point, where neck meets shoulder. The bundle sits dangerously close to the surface. A sharp strike sends a shockwave through every nerve in the cluster at once. Arm drops, hand opens. Fingers will not close. Objects fall. Grip reads 0. Brain still sending commands. Delivery system offline. In grappling, pressure here pops, grips open that the person is fighting to hold. Willpower versus nerve disruption. Nerve wins, every time. The arm hangs dead until the plexus resets on its own schedule. No way to speed it up. No way to force the hand closed. A conscious person watching their own arm refuse to work. Circuit tripped. Limb waiting for power that has not come back yet. In a fight, one dead arm means one side wide open. No guard, no block, no way to control distance. Half the defense, erased. Throat. The 30-second countdown. One tube, the trachea, cartilage rings holding it open. That is everything between breathing and not breathing. Force crushes it into the spine. Airflow drops immediately. But the real threat is what comes after. The larynx sits just above, housing the hyoid bone, one of the most fragile bones in the body. It breaks. Tissue swells. That swelling closes the airway from inside. Reduced breathing becomes blocked. Breathing becomes no breathing. No backup airway. No second tube. No emergency bypass the body can activate on its own. The person might walk away from the initial hit feeling fine. 30 seconds later, swelling builds. 60 seconds, they are in crisis. Emergency medicine treats throat trauma as a countdown because the body's own inflammation can seal the only air passage shut. The hit starts the clock. Swelling finishes the job. By the time someone realizes they cannot breathe, the window is already closing. This is the only point on the list where the real danger shows up after the impact, not during it. The clock starts the moment force reaches the throat. Everything after that is the body slowly sealing its own airway shut. Vagus nerve, the fastest crash in the body. One nerve, brainstem to gut, heart rate, blood pressure, breathing rhythm, digestion, all running through a single cable down both sides of the neck with nothing between it and the skin except a layer of muscle. That is it. That is all that is guarding it. Impact compresses the nerve against deeper structures. Emergency signal fires to the brainstem. The brain reads total system threat and initiates vasovagal shutdown. Heart rate craters. Blood pressure collapses. Legs gone. Before the person processes a single thought. Floor. No pain first. No wobble. Standing. Then down. That fast. Same reflex that makes people faint at the sight of blood. Except impact triggers it instantly. Adrenaline does not override it. Focus does not override it. The autonomic system outranks every conscious decision the brain can make. A fighter winning every exchange. Alert. Sharp. Fully in control. One clean shot finds the vagus nerve and the brain pulls every system offline in under a second. Done. No warning. No chance to adjust. The switch flipped and the person attached to that body had no vote in the decision. The body's most critical nerve is also its most reachable. No amount of neck muscle changes how close it sits to the surface. The wiring was laid before the threat ever existed. That flaw is permanent. Occipital nerve. Last on the list for a reason. Two nerves thread from the upper spine through a narrow gap at the base of the skull, greater and lesser occipital nerves. At that gap, fully exposed. But the nerves are not what makes this different from the other 9. What sits beneath them is the brain stem, running consciousness, breathing, balance, and every automatic function the body performs without being asked. Lowest layer, most essential layer, the one piece of hardware everything else depends on. Impact drives force through the nerves into the brainstem, with almost nothing to absorb it. Bone to nerve to brainstem, minimal buffer. Results are not predictable. Instant unconsciousness, permanent damage, death. Medical records show fatalities from impacts that would have been survivable anywhere else on the skull. The angle was the difference. The alignment was the difference. And neither can be controlled during real contact. Every combat sport on Earth bans strikes here. No exceptions, no judgment calls, automatic foul. The brainstem does not heal like bone, does not rebuild like muscle. When it goes down, breathing goes, balance goes, consciousness goes. Every system running on autopilot, gone, all at once. That is why this one is last. Not because it is the least dangerous, because it is the one you do not come back from. Every other point on this list resets eventually. The nerve comes back. The muscle unlocks. The reflex fades. This one makes no such promise. The brainstem is the foundation. When the foundation breaks, the whole building comes down, and it does not go back up.